I'm your host, Blake Riviera.
And I am your host, Kiki Hollick.
This is a podcast all about anything that'll creep you out, from conspiracy theories, ghost stories, even everyday fears and pressures.
We want to tackle the subject from a couple different angles, from the aspects of scientific things that are happening in your brain and your body to maybe historical things that have happened, maybe certain murder cases, certain conspiracies, like,
Ooh,
yeah,
sexy.
yeah, fun.
Yeah, so for today's topic, we wanted to cover fear itself. Very nice and broad.
Nice and broad. Whatever we do, it'll work somehow.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the origins of fear, they're caused in the Stathman gene. This is in charge of both innate and learned fears. And most of the Stathman gene is expressed in the lateral amygdala. The amygdala, of course, controls fear response, along with a couple other things, very basic emotions and feelings like that.
Yeah, because fear, of course, is one of our most primal, original emotions. Like when you're born, you're fucking terrified of everything.
Everything's bad.
Shit's
Everything's scary.
Everything's bad. All things are bad.
Yeah. So in 2005, there was There was an experiment conducted by Gleb Shumyatsky. Yeah, we don't know how to pronounce it, but
I'm sure it's Gleb Shumyatsky.
Yeah. So we don't know how to pronounce it, but we think it's Gleb Shumyatsky or something close to it.
You're just gonna have to trust us.
Yeah, you can actually find his entire experiment at cell.com. Yeah, so they held an experiment where I think they cut out part of the lateral amygdala where a lot of the Stathman gene is expressed.
In humans?
In pretty much any animal. Like, animals are very similar to each other. We all have very basic structure, which is copied time and time again.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that they cut it out because they never actually specified what they did, but they just somehow got rid of the lateral amygdala. So
this is in mice, right?
Yes, in mice.
You need to specify that.
Did I not say that?
No, you didn't.
Oh my god.
Just cutting, and you said and in humans, so I was like, are they cutting out human brains?
No, they're doing this to mice.
Mice. Poor baby mice.
Yeah, mice get messed up a lot.
Poor mice. They just got a tough lot.
So I'm assuming that they cut it out, never really specified, but when they did this, when they cut out the lateral amygdala, the mice were a lot less skittish than mice who who hadn't had this done to them.
Yeah.
So, like, if they would put them around a predator where a typical mouse would run away, the mice that had no amygdala wouldn't run away, or they would take longer to react.
Yeah, they were the not bitch mice. They were like, fuck with me.
Yeah, they were a lot braver.
Yeah.
If you can call foolhardiness brave.
They are brave boys.
You were correct when you said that newborns have a lot of fear, because they found that in the younger mice, they had Stathman expressed in almost every part of the brain.
Only fear.
Only fear. It's all fear. You see food, fear. You see no food, fear. It's all fear.
Always afraid.
But in juvenile and adult rats, the Stathman gene was mostly in the amygdala. It went there, so less fear than before.
Nice. We like less fear.
We love less fear. So the experience of fear itself is a chain reaction. Okay. Personally, I buy into the Cannon-Bard theory, so I'm only going over that because that's the only valid one to me.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, but just so you know, there are other theories.
Yes, there are 3 theories.
They're not all correct.
Cannon-Bard is the only correct one in my mind. So in the Cannon-Bard theory, an event happens, and simultaneously the brain will be aroused and experience emotion.
Aroused.
Of course. For anyone that doesn't know, arousal in the brain is it's more just like your brain interprets something. So if I were to introduce a stimulus of like punching you in the leg, the nerve endings in your skin would activate, and your brain would interpret that arousal as like me punching you.
Oh shit!
Because you would probably see it visually and you would feel it. Unless you can't feel your legs.
I can feel my legs.
Yeah.
Can you feel my legs?
I can feel your legs.
Oh shit!
But yeah, so the brain will put you into fight or flight, and your brain interprets that danger around you to make you feel scared.
You can't be. It takes two to be afraid.
It takes two to be afraid.
You and your surroundings.
Yeah, and then the chain event that happens like specifically is that the event will take place. Your thalamus sends sensory data to your amygdala processes it and takes action to protect you, and tells your hypothalamus to put you into fight or flight. And what is fight or flight, you may ask?
I didn't ask.
You may ask.
I don't need to ask permission to ask.
You do, in this house.
May I ask?
You may. So fight or flight was first described by psychologist Walter Cannon in the 1920s.
The 1920s?
Yes, in the 1920s.
The 1920s was actually a very interesting time for fear.
Really?
Yeah, and in America especially, because of, the roaring 20s, if you will, there was a huge rise in the popularity of more Gothic forms of art, things like Gothic paintings, and especially spirit photographs, which nowadays we have modern technology and we have modern common sense where we understand the technology behind like overlaying photographs and why there are certain things in photographs that can't be explained. So we see a picture, we see these quote unquote spirit photographs and we're like, oh wow, there's nothing wrong with this. But back then, they were like, this is a ghost. What the fuck? So they, lost their shit over it. Yeah. They fucking loved that shit. And it was the same with things like more Gothic literature, Gothic, art forms. Things were very spooky, very scary. It was right after the World War II. Not World War II, World War One. That's the wrong war. Two different wars.
Very different wars.
It was right after World War One, so there was all of this, horror and this bloodshed, and then a time of creativity, and of course the things that they're gonna create are gonna be bone chilling. So
and then Germany was of course left in a rut after World War
Poor
One.
Germany. Honestly, during World War One in Germany, the films were the amount of films that were being produced in Germany skyrocketed.
Really?
So if you go from 1914. There were approximately 24 films created outside of Germany, right? They created by Germany, right? And that almost quintupled by 1918 when there were 130 films released. Because during World War I, Germany banned all films from foreign countries, so they had to create their own entertainment. So they were creating all of these crazy films, and of course during World War II, sadly Hitler burned a lot of them, and a lot of records were lost. But there are
Nazis.
Fucking Nazis.
Fuck you if you're a Nazi.
Fuck you if you're a Nazi. But there are things left over from them, like posters and the fronts of the CD, not the CDs. They didn't have CDs back then. The fronts of the play pamphlets and stuff. There are things left from them, and there are records of them, and many of the films were, and because of the horrific time that they were in and the violence and the bloodshed and the gore, a lot of them were horror-based films, and they were very gothic and they were very graphic and they were very dark films. So the Yeah, shout out to the ancient Goths, y'all.
Ancient.
Ancient
Less
Goths.
than 100 years ago.
1914, ancient.
1914. It's over 100 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not dumb.
Yeah.
Maybe.
The first actual Gothic novel was The Castle of Otranto by Horace. Yeah, Otranto. Otranto. The Castle of Otranto, and it was by Horace Walpole, and it was written in 1765. This is the first Gothic novel that I could find. The earliest record, from what I could see, of Gothic novels being published and massively like.
Yeah, and of course, Mary Shelley changed everything.
Mary Shelley.
Let me tell you.
Tell me about Mary Shelley.
So fucking goth. She lost her virginity on top of her mom's grave.
That is a fucking mood. Disrespectful, but a mood.
A mood.
Yeah.
That's Mary Shelley for you. But yeah, fight or flight was first described by psychologist Walter Cannon.
And this was in the 20s.
Yeah, in the 1920s.
Yeah.
And then
a lot of people looking into fear back then.
Yeah, a lot. Like in the 1920s, we were very interested in fear and why we felt it. But anyway, what the fight or flight causes in the body, it speeds up your heart rate and respiratory rate in order to get more oxygen to your muscles and prime them for action.
You're ready.
Activated. Activated. You will be activated during this. Highly aroused.
Highly aroused.
And then a lot of people will fluctuate between pale and flushed skin, again, because, your body's moving all this blood everywhere.
You don't have that much blood.
Yeah, there's not enough blood in the human body to be everywhere at once. Mm-hmm. So it gets tossed around
You only got a certain amount of blood, people. You got
just a couple pints.
Couple pints.
That's it. You need more. But your body said no more, please.
I want more blood.
Your pupils will also dilate in order to take in more light and have more detail so that you can see all of the danger. All of it.
Every danger.
Every danger. So you can see that there's something sharp over there. There's a man over there that you have to be aware of and run away from. Mm-hmm. There's in a more primal human, you would be like, oh shit, there's a bear.
Yeah, you're ready to either fight or flight. Yeah, yep. I got you. You gotta be ready for action.
Primed and ready and activated.
Primed and ready. Like me.
Constantly. Another thing is that you would tend to tremble. This is because the muscles want to be primed for action, to get you ready to either fight.
You're vibrating.
You're vibrating very fast. You're getting ready to either fight this thing or to run away. The fight response is exactly what it is. Like, you see the thing, you are incredibly scared of it.
You punch.
And you're gonna punch it. You're gonna fuck it up. Punch everything. Personally, I think this is the best reaction you could have because you're going to protect yourself and then you're going to get out of there.
You know what? I'm going to protect myself by getting out of there. If I'm in a situation I don't want to be in, I'm fucking gone. Goodbye.
Yes, and that is a perfect description of the flight response. This is the response that tells you, I need to get out of here. Yeah. This is very scary and bad.
Yeah, I'm a lover, not a fighter.
Yeah, this is, I would think this is probably the most common. You see the danger, you run.
Yeah.
But there's also talk of a third response, the freeze response.
Mm-hmm.
What this means is that the person is too scared to move. They're frozen in fear. Mm-hmm. They won't move. They can't move. A lot of victims of assault or
people from near-death experiences.
Yeah, near-death experiences will report that they were so scared that they couldn't move, even though they were trying to move. They were too scared.
Yeah, which is understandable. Like, you're in a situation out of the ordinary, something that's you don't know how to react to it, because who is ever in those situations, right?
For sure, it's rare.
Yeah, so of course you're not. Anyone can say like, oh yeah, of course I would protect my family. Like, I would protect myself, I would run, I would do this. But even me, someone who's like, oh, I get the fuck out of there, like I can't say that I would be brave enough to like run from the situation, because like that's something that I've been thinking about lately. Like you run from something, you have to have a way to get out. You have to know where you're going. You have to have something to run to. It's just like there's so many factors, and of course there's going to be so much running through your head. Like I'm sure when your life is on the line, like it's a very understandable response to just be frozen in fear. Like
Yeah.
because logically, afterwards, of course, you can take in the situation to say, "Oh, I should have done this," but when you're there and you're like, "Oh my God,
It's in the moment.
Yeah, you're like, "I'm gonna die." Like you can't just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna fight." Like sometimes, like of course, some people who are like more like in a better mental state, or maybe even like they're more prepared for it, or even if they're like you caught them in the right day, in the right mood. Like there's really like so many factors. Like it's completely understandable to be frozen in fear. I can completely see that.
Definitely. And the reason behind this kind of deer in the headlights reaction is that eyes are attracted to movement. We like our eyes seek movement. Like we usually see a rabbit run, and you're like, oh, now there's a rabbit. But
Prey.
if you if you see like if a rabbit is standing still, your eyes have a lot more trouble trying to find that rabbit.
Yeah.
This is with every predator, they all see movement. You're attracted to movement. So by freezing, the brain is hoping that you won't get noticed by the predator that is after you.
Yeah, like in that one video game, Until Dawn. You gotta
freeze.
You gotta stay still.
Let me tell you, I freeze. And because of that, Until Dawn was pretty easy. Because I was already scared shitless, so I was frozen.
Yeah, good.
Yes, this is the only time it's useful in my modern age.
Oh my God.
There's also a lot of talk about innate and learned fear.
Yeah, the different kinds of fears, like where they come from.
Yeah, we actually don't know a lot about innate fear. We're not certain how it develops or what our innate fears are, because humans constantly learn, pick up information, and our behavior changes.
Yeah, because children, people say, what is it, like during the first couple years of birth, children are bombarded with so much stimuli. They're learning so much so fast.
Especially in modern ages.
Yeah, and kids don't you don't remember what who remembers anything between the ages of like infantilism to like even like 3 or 4 years old.
Yeah.
Like, and by the time you're 3 or 4 years old, you're starting to learn how to be like a normal person.
For sure.
Not a stupid idiot baby.
Dumb babies.
Dumb stupid baby. So like there's no way for us to, we can't ask a baby, what are you afraid of?
Yeah, which is a lot of the issue. You can't ask a baby.
Yeah.
Everything's bad for babies.
Everything's bad for babies.
But yeah, so some theories for innate fear include things like avoiding disease, sharp objects, and being alone. The disease more pertains to skin affectations, feces, corpses, death, things like that.
Things that you would see and you like.
And something you would associate with disease.
Something you would describe as like gross or like something you're repulsed by.
Yeah, exactly. The repulsion is what keeps you safe from a lot of disease and bacteria. Sharp things are also obvious because predators, they have big teeth, big claws, thorns can hurt you.
Yeah, and then when you're alone and you're a baby, you know you're vulnerable. So how do you
like the primal human is social. We're very social creatures.
Yeah, and we like people.
Yeah, throughout history, we've always gathered together. We've always had a community.
That's why in prison, the most severe punishment you can have is solitary confinement, because we are social creatures.
It is the worst thing that you could do, to take someone who needs help and just leave them alone to themselves completely. No human contact.
Fuck you.
Yeah, it's absolutely the worst. I can talk about prisons for days, but I won't.
Okay.
This time. So for learned fears, most of it comes from past behavior. Myself, I believe in behaviorism. So someone gets attacked by a dog, they fear dogs. Someone gets pushed into water and they don't know how to swim, they fear water.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the connection.
Mm-hmm.
Some things are actually even learned from movies, like the fear of the dark. When I was little, I could walk around my pitch black house and I would be fine. Because, you would throw up in the middle of the night and then you have to walk to your parents' room and be like, I threw up.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, it's
That's very specific.
I know, but everyone experiences it. Because what do you do when you throw up and you're like
you go to
5 years
old?
Exactly. I report to my mother,
I
threw up.
I report
Please
to
help.
my mother.
Yeah. And then, but nowadays, if my room is even a little bit dim, my brain is immediately, I'm in danger.
Because you are aware of what can happen.
Yeah.
And then you don't see scary movies that are bright and sunshine.
We were watching Halloween last night, and when they turned on all the lady Jamie Lee Curtis, she turned on all the lights.
She said, "I can see you."
Yeah, and instantly I was like, "Oh, I am less fearful of this scene because it was full of light.
You can see everything.
Yeah.
Nothing. It's the fear. A lot of fear comes from the unknown. We fear the unknown.
So you can learn it from books, movies, anything that you find scary.
Mm-hmm. Another note on that would be the fear caused by and from social status, the way that fear is used by people in power to get people who are beneath them to try to in a way bend to their will. It's a lot easier to listen to someone because when we're in a fight or flight, it's like the fight or flight instinct. When we're in the fight or flight instinct, a lot of us are frozen. What do we do? How do we fix this? When someone who is braver and stronger comes in, they instill fear in us, and then they try to give us ideas of how they think. They're like, this is how we can help you. This is how we can fix it. And so they it works in mass numbers. You can see it powerful leaders like Genghis Khan and Hitler. They used fear and strength and power to command armies and to fuel their own
it's even in more subtle ways too, because fear mongering was a big tactic when we were pushing things like the Jim Crow laws. They would say oh, black people are like this, they're a danger, they're a threat. And because of that, and because they would be portrayed as villainous, as uneducated, as loud and chaotic and dangerous, people feared them, and it caused a lot of oppression against people using that fear.
You can even see that nowadays with the not to get political or anything, but that's what's going on. Should I not talk about this? But that's literally what we're doing to
Look, this is our podcast.
Fair enough.
We're gonna talk about what we want.
But not to get political or anything, but this is the same tactic being used to make people fear the immigrants coming in.
Saying that they have drugs, that they're rapists.
Yeah, and then there's the whole thing with the Syrian and the what are they called? Refugees trying to come in. They're like, these people are this, they're that, they're terrorists. They're fucking.
It's all fear mongering in order for us to accept new laws that would oppress these people even more than already is.
And of course, you can believe whatever you want to believe, but it's very important to not let yourself be driven to fear over things that don't matter. We are a country of immigrants.
Yeah.
If the Native Americans got all pissy when we came in and they try to kick us all out and build a wall, we wouldn't like it very much, you know?
Yeah, because we killed thousands of them.
Yeah, we killed thousands. Why? Exactly. How can we say that these refugees that are coming in, not hurting anyone or a danger, when we literally came in and we killed everyone who was already here?
For real. We're the danger.
We are danger.
Yeah. Because, I'm a third generation American on my mom's side.
Same for my grandpa. My grandpa. Actually, I'm second generation. My grandpa came from.
Could be second generation.
Yeah, my grandpa was born in I was gonna say Canada. My grandpa was born in Canada, so I'm Canadian.
Wow.
I have to pee. Okay.
So my grandma immigrated here in the 70s, I think. And She had my mom, and my mom had me. My mom considers it so that I'm third generation,
Yeah.
but personally, I think of it as second generation because she was the first born in like
Yeah.
America,
Yeah.
and then it was me.
Yeah, see, on my dad's side, my grandpa's from Canada, of course, and then on my mom's side, her parents are from Connecticut, so I'm a West Coast immigrant. But yeah, my mom and her family are all from the East Coast. My dad is from California.
Yeah.
And my mom's dad, his whole family is Greek, and like
Mhm.
they're all like from Greece, and like they're like a super Greek family, but I've never met my mom's family like on the East Coast. Fun fact, yeah. Yeah, it's like it's strange. Like the only family from my mother that I've met is my aunt, and she lives with us because like she helps my mom take care of the kids. And I've met all of my dad's family, but I've never met like my mom's side of the
That's
family.
weird.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, but on my dad's side, through his biological father, he's almost completely native. Like his biological father is almost completely native.
Really?
We don't know what kind of native.
But
we
a
just
native.
know he's native.
Okay.
And then on his biological mother's side, you can trace it all the way back to the Mayflower.
Wow.
Yeah, all the way back to the Mayflower, and then back into Germany, in Prague. They're in Prague. They're like,
yeah, I'm from Greece. I'm very
yeah.
Greek. Yeah, I'm super Greek.
Very Greek.
I told you about that one time I was at the lake, and I was literally like 8 to 10 years old, and I was we were on a little fishing trip down to the lake.
Yeah.
And it was during the summer, and I think there was like this, like the reason we went was because there was like this whole program going on, and there were all of these kids there, and I was bored by fishing, so I stopped fishing and I started walking around with my friends, and we saw that there was like a huge pit of like hundreds of snakes. And I was like, oh, I'd grab them if I knew that they weren't poisonous. And some little British kid, I have never met him before. I do not know if he's a reliable source. He comes up to me. He says, oh, yeah, they're not poisonous. They're just river snakes. I know. My dad knows about snakes. And me, being a little girl, goes, okay. So I start grabbing the snakes. None of them bite me or anyone else because I'm a snake charmer. Yeah. But yeah, I literally just reached my hand in. I grabbed a snake. I picked it up. And then everybody started coming up to me asking if I could pick up snakes and hand it to them and their children. And I feel like that's a really weird thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember it very clearly. It was very weird. Everyone else was too afraid to pick up the snakes. And my dad was like encouraging me because he was too afraid to pick them up too, but he was so okay with his possibly 8-year-old daughter just picking up snakes. I could have been younger, actually. I might have actually been younger.
Yeah. Actually, a lot of parents will teach fears because, like,
my dad never taught me to be afraid of snakes.
Exactly. You're not scared of snakes.
Or spiders.
Or spiders because no one taught you to be.
Yeah, my dad thought spiders were cool, so I think spiders are cool.
Bam.
Yeah.
Spiders.
Yeah. One time there was like a colony of black widows under our house, so we had to like kill them because like if my brother was older, we wouldn't have, but he was pretty young when we moved in, so we didn't want him to like die. So we had to like kill all the spiders, and like it became a game. Like we they're so cool. And like there was this one, like the alpha black widow. She was like huge, like literally the size of like large. Yeah. She like her body was like half the size of an Oreo, which is big. God. It was like bigger, like her body was bigger than a quarter, I would say. Large alpha.
The body itself, not the legs?
The body itself. She was big. Yeah. And so he took the end of a broom, not the bushy end, the hard end, the stick end, and he like stabbed her into the ground, into like the gravel and the rocks. And like we thought she was smushed and dead. That bitch was still going. Spiders don't give a fuck. And she was just like waving her arms. And we were like, are you fucking kidding me? And I was like standing behind him with a can of Raid, and he kept on stabbing her, and like in between I would just like she died eventually. But it was
Holy
it was a
shit.
glorious battle.
Yeah. Congratulations. I didn't know I was in the presence of a warrior.
She was literally like a fucking boss fight. Like, it was really cool though. Oh my god, people who have like spider phobias are gonna hate that.
Yeah. Too bad. Spider's over.
Spider is over, yes.
So
we're back to learn fears.
We're back to learned fears.
Okay.
Because I have a lot to say about them.
Yes. It's very exciting because like fear of spiders. I don't know. Is that a learned fear or not?
It's a little
bit of both.
Okay. There's arguments because they're like most of the sources that I found had 3 to 7 innate fears.
Mm-hmm.
I just condensed them into like very general categories, but spiders and bugs often came up as innate fears.
Innate, okay.
Yeah.
But then like
So it's arguable.
Yeah, fair enough. Because like you could learn to not be afraid of something.
Anyway. With like TVs, movies, books, and everything, they teach a lot of fear. Even like fear of clowns with that the book It and now the movie. Well, I guess
the movie and
the
then
movie in the
series.
80s and then the movie again.
Yeah.
That caused a lot of the fear of clowns to go up.
Mm-hmm.
And even before that, clowns kind of fall into an uncanny valley effect. This uncanny valley was coined by Freud,
who we do not like in this house.
Yes, he's a little bastard man. We don't like him.
Freud is a little bastard man.
Anyway, humans have what they recognize as quote unquote standard. So like I can see that that you, Kiki, are a human.
A standard human.
A standard human. You have a face, you have hair located on top of your head. You have a little bit of hair. It's shaved right now, but you would have hair on your arms. And you have like a general human shape. You're on 2 feet. You have hands that look like my hands. You have you got 4 appendages. You got a body.
The structure of my body is human. I'm not like ape shaped. I'm not hunched over. I'm a human.
Human shaped.
I'm a human person.
Yeah, and I recognize that. So to me, you're a very nice looking, very friendly human shape.
Yes.
But things get weird in our modern age.
When you have like things like,
that look almost human.
But are not.
Yeah. So an industrial robot, we can see that doesn't look human. A cartoon is kind of human shaped, but we understand it's not really human.
Yeah, we get it. It's not trying to be a human.
But between that and actual human, there's a large drop.
Where whether it's okay or not.
Yeah, because it's almost human, but not quite. Like a lot of people will say they're scared of Sophia, the Sophia android.
Oh,
because she looks very human. She looks very human. In pictures, she looks very human
but
until like you see the back of her head and everything. But how she moves is not human, and like
we can tell. Like
you can tell that something is off.
Yeah, it doesn't look exactly human.
Yeah, and there's a lot of this that can cause prejudice because like if you're physically disabled, people will be scared because you're not the quote unquote normal human. You're not a standard. So there are some times where you have to unlearn that. Yeah, one of my uncanny valley.
A girl that I knew once was afraid of pregnant women.
How are you scared of that?
I don't know. She was afraid of pregnant women, and I remember we were in a comedy improv club together.
Yeah.
And during one of the competitions, we had to mime something about phobias, and we were miming. We were in front of an audience, and we were miming pregnancy towards her, and she was able to get phobia out of that. And Kopi, the host, was like, "What the fuck just happened?" Because we were just miming being pregnant, and she was like, fear, phobia. And we were like, you got it.
You got it.
Pregnant equal fear. Yeah,
she
just was afraid of pregnant people. You know, it'd be like that.
Yeah, and that's why It's okay not to have kids.
It's okay not to have kids.
You can like adopt them if you really want kids.
So many kids these days.
Stop that. Bad noise.
Oh yeah.
You can adopt kids. You can have someone else be pregnant for you. There's a lot of ways.
You can go to a dog shelter, just get a puppy.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Cats are great. I have 2 cats. They're beautiful.
I want a little calico.
A calico.
I want a little calico. Just throw some colors on there.
All right.
Yeah.
Polar Express.
Express.
The Polar Express would also be another example. A lot of people said that their children were disturbed by the movie because of its almost real but not real animation style.
Yeah. There, like that is truly like the tip of like cartoon versus real human.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't really scared of them as a kid, just because like I knew this was like an animated movie. I thought some parts were like scary.
Yeah.
Like the marionette part.
That was meant to be scary.
Yeah, that was meant to be scary, but it still scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
I don't know why they had that.
It was creepy. You know, that might explain how some of their they have like those realistic like animations like for Tangled and Frozen. That might explain why they have the facial features and the body so blatantly like cartoonistic, because if their faces and bodies and everything were really more human, it might be if that kind of animation style had someone who looked like a real human person, like it would be terrifying. Like it would be the same thing as like the Polar Express. Like a lot of people would be disturbed by it.
Yeah. Which isn't to say like it's good to have all these like very, very thin people.
Yeah, but it's as far as like cartoonistic, like the big eyes, the big hair, the dramatic colors, like stuff like of course like don't make everyone stick thin. Like I support that.
You gotta have
a happy
someone that's just built like a brick shit house. It has to be there.
Yeah.
You need it. Adults and children tend to have very different fears.
And that's part of the learned
and innate.
Yeah.
Because kids will fear things like snakes or crossing the road even.
Yeah.
Like my mom made me very scared of crossing the road when I was
young. Die.
You will
run
die.
Over.
It was instant. Like there could be an empty road and she would be like, look both ways, hold my hand, do not walk too fast.
Yeah.
Like I was very scared of crossing the road. And then adults tend to have fears like
paying your mortgage.
Yeah, like paying your mortgage, not being able to like have enough money for food. Their fears go along with stress.
Yeah, it's often a lot of times like the safety of their family.
Yeah,
if you have a family, a lot of times like your family's safety is a huge stressor.
Yeah, you and like your family like need to be safe, and that's a very innate thing. Like there's like fear of abandonment, fear of failure, fear of past trauma, fear of being without a romantic partner. It's all part of like adult
forever
fear. You're not, because I'm gonna marry you.
Aww.
Yes.
It's a lot of fear. It's a lot to be afraid of things.
There's a lot to be scared of.
There's a lot to be scared of.
Especially like in the modern world.
Yeah.
Which isn't to say that there wasn't a lot to fear.
Yeah, back in the olden days, like the first kinds of like things were, as far as what people recorded being afraid of, a lot of the times it was things like ghosts and the idea of heaven and hell. They were afraid of doing wrong and going to hell. A lot of now fears are a lot more like real. Back then fears were a lot more of the supernatural.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they were afraid of ghosts, they were afraid of gods, they were afraid of goblins, they were afraid of...
Actually, that's very interesting because in medical history, people used to believe that diseases and things like that were caused by ghosts, by poltergeists, by gods, demons, everything like that. That is very Eurocentric, but for the most part, in Europe at least, I'm not sure about the rest of the world because everything's Eurocentric. They would believe that demons or bad spirits had caused disease.
Yeah, it's It's a lot about how it's part of the whole learned fears. And
Yes, exactly.
Back in the day, a lot of fears were stemmed by the fear of the unknown. You didn't understand something, so you were naturally just afraid of it, right?
Mhm.
So now that brings us to like, when was the first recording of things that people were afraid of, right? Like,
Yeah,
what's
of
the
course.
first? So a lot of things before people wrote things down, there was of course the spoken word, and ghost stories, they were always a thing. People stole. Parents told their kids stories to keep them scared so that they wouldn't misbehave. People told each other stories. They were telling people stories about ghosts, about ancestors, about spirits. It's always been part of the human experience to tell stories, to make things up, or things that aren't made up.
It's an art like any other. And as humans, we love art.
Yes, fucking love art.
We love art.
Yeah,
Making
but
it.
one of the first written ghost stories was written by Pliny the Younger. Pliny the Younger was his name. His father was Pliny the Greater.
Does he have a brother called Pliny the Older?
It possibly. Who fucking knows? I didn't read that, but he was a writer. He was born in Italy. This was Rome in the first century AD. He was born in 61 AD, so this was a while ago. And the first ghost stories written from like the first the first ghost stories seen by and like seen written were from him in a letter that he sent to his buddy Lucian, who was also a writer, and they told of ghost stories of spirits that they saw. And another differentiation to make is there's a difference between a ghost and a poltergeist. I did not know this before. I know now. I will enlighten you. So
I'm aware, but explain to the rest.
But a ghost, most people probably know this, but a ghost is something. It's like a spectral, right? It can't. You can see it, but it can't touch you. You can speak to it, but it can't.
Phantasmal.
Yes, a poltergeist goes as far as like starting fires and throwing things and causing disease and harm. And the first record of a poltergeist was sometime somewhere in Germany in 856 AD was the first recordings of a poltergeist, where it was throwing things, it was setting things on fire, it was messing shit up. So we can go more into things like ghosts and
and everything like that in future episodes.
Yeah, that's because that you can go so deep with that. Like
for sure.
There's differences between ghosts and poltergeists, and then there's the whole like ancestors and spirits and the whole idea of like spreading disease and stuff. It's like they're especially in Europe, because the Europeans were some angsty motherfuckers.
Yeah.
So
love God, love sex.
Love God, love sex, love drama, love tea.
Yeah.
They were the mean girls of ancient history. They were the mean girls. So that's pretty much all we're going to be covering today.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about some of the first sightings in writing and stuff. We talked about some of the effects on culture and art. And then the effects on the body.
Yes, love science.
How do you feel physically? No one cares about your emotions. Bad physical feelings.
Yeah, so thanks for listening to us.
We appreciate it. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
So you can follow us on Twitter at AllCreepyPod. We'll be posting updates about the podcast. Hopefully soon we'll get microphones so that this audio won't have to be there for so long. And we'll be on YouTube at the channel with Blake and Kiki. So check us out there. I'm gonna try and submit this to Apple Podcasts. Hopefully we get on. That would be very exciting. Anyway, thanks. Thank you all for listening. I hope you enjoyed it. We're going to try to keep up the schedule and post every other week on Tuesdays. So keep a lookout for that. Remember to follow us. And yeah, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this. We certainly enjoyed making this, even though I'm recording this ending alone. Anyway, hope you tune in next time. Bye for now.